Hey, I'm Travis.
And I'm Adele, and our channel is all about helping couples in all seasons of marriage.
We hope you enjoy our channel and follow along this journey. Hey, and welcome back, friends. So, Adele, what are we going to talk about today?
We got a question on Instagram asking us, how do you deal with triggers? And wow, that topic is such a big topic in itself. And I have a question for you. Are you walking through betrayal in your own marriage and you're experiencing triggers for the first time? Is that you? I know that it really brings back a lot of memories of that time for me.
Yeah, I was thinking of the same thing. You had a lot of triggers, and I would hear you talk about them, and I would listen to you, and I was not experiencing the same thing that you were experiencing.
Right.
And so I'm excited for you to, one, talk about the triggers and how normal they are for having those. And two, for the betrayer, it would be really nice to know, what are you actually experiencing whenever this happens?
Yeah. So, first, let me just share what the experience is like inside the body. First, my heart rate would start to increase, thoughts would start to ramp up to a point where I was experiencing thoughts so rapidly that I could not even keep up with my own thoughts. It would make me feel very panicky, and it would make me feel like the betrayal is happening right now in front of me. It was that real of an experience that it felt like I was actually going through it all over again.
Over and over and
and
over.
over and over. Sometimes I would even get tingly, like my arms and my legs. I was experiencing extreme nausea. I wasn't able to eat for several months. It was a really challenging time in my life. Probably some of the darkest days I've ever walked through.
And would you say it's normal?
All of it is normal. And that's what I want you to hear. If you're someone that's walking through triggers, I know I felt like I was going crazy when all of that was happening. And I was like, is this because I'm a jealous wife? Or like, why am I so, like, I can't control anything? I would be crying 1 minute and angry the next with rage that was just coursing through my veins. I didn't know what was normal. And so I want you to know that what you're walking through is normal. All of those symptoms. And you may have some I didn't mention. Those were just the ones that I specifically remember walking through, but they come in all shapes and sizes and colors and flavors, depending on what the betrayal looked like.
And I'm curious, when you're in the middle of these triggers, how do you feel about me?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I actually experienced a partial trigger last night. I've just had time to learn how to work through them. But what happened was I just had one thought. And that thought was, I wonder if this happened. And because I had that one thought, I felt my heart rate start to go up. I felt my body start to rush in this like tingly sensation, which is fight or flight, by the way. And I know if I go into fight or flight, it's not good. Those thoughts are coming in on a train, and that train is going 110 miles an hour. So I either jump on it and follow that train where it takes me, which is dark.
Yeah.
Or I see the train and I'm like, no, not today. We're not doing that. But the way that it made me feel about you, even last night, was how could you do that? And I don't even know if the thought that I had was even true.
Wow.
But it made me feel like you did it.
Yeah.
And you're guilty.
Yes.
And it brings up all this anger all over again of how could you do this? And, when it comes to being able to control the triggers, there's no control. Those first 3 months are really, really challenging. And it's because you're fighting a war. And the war is not with your spouse. The war is in your mind with the enemy.
Yeah.
And the enemy wants nothing more than to destroy you and to destroy the marriage. And so I really got that it was such a spiritual battle for me. And that is a next level experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. that whole battle in my mind with my thoughts and that thought feeling loop and that train you're talking about that's going 110 miles an hour, I want to jump on that train too. And I'm not experiencing triggers like you are, but in everyday life, I want to jump on that train that comes by. And I imagine when you're talking about these triggers, they're probably magnified.
Oh man. Oh yeah. And I mentioned the first 3 months is just the most challenging. And what I've really seen happen in my own life and what I've seen happen through coaching other wives through this is that if you don't take the time to grieve the loss that you've just had, because betrayal is a loss of the marriage you thought you had. That actual marriage dies.
Yeah.
It's like a death in the family. It's that strong. And so that's why your heart hurts, like physically pain in your heart. It felt like a knife was stabbing me every time I had a trigger. And so it's so important to grieve and allow yourself to grieve. That's the body's way of allowing those very, very strong emotions to come out of the body. If I don't allow myself to get those out, they stay inside and they wreak havoc on my health. They prolong the healing where sometimes women never heal. Your triggers don't diminish, they continue, they stay that way. And it's a really destructive life to live. And I knew that I did not want that kind of life. I wanted my life back. I didn't ask for the unfaithfulness in the marriage. And so when it hit me, it was very intense in my life. And I had to allow those emotions to flow through my body. And sometimes I would be in the bathroom crying or outside screaming or just like wailing. It was different for all different triggers. I just had to allow it to come out. And what I started seeing was at around 4 months, I started not really having as many and a lot less emotions that I needed to get out. And the triggers started getting further and farther in between. And they weren't so intense all the time. And I started to really be able to see the train approaching and choose, is this what I want for me right now? Or is not thinking about that thought going to serve me in the long run? And so it's a lot of it is a choice. And when I grieved for that 3 months, it was such a beautiful time. It was so painful, but it was such a beautiful time for me with the Lord and just reconnecting with my heart and all the emotions that were in there. After that time, when I was really done with the grieving process, I had to really make a choice for myself. Do I want to continue to be a victim, which I was? I was a victim of your sin and your actions.
You were.
And that makes me a victim. And I had to make a choice. Do I want to continue that? Do I want to continue feeling this victimness that it's heavy and it's like, what's wrong with me? And what am I missing that she has? And why her? And so many things that lead back to what's wrong with me. And now I'm really becoming a victim long term of what someone else did. And that's disempowering in life. It is not a fun life to live as a victim. So I made a choice. I'm not staying this way. I'm going to grieve. I'm going to work through it. I'm going to allow these emotions to come. And then I'm going to be moving forward. And so about 4 months, that's when I chose, I'm not a victim anymore. I was a victim of his sin, but I am not staying that way. I am going to do the work to heal. And what I want to share with you is that we have a walking through betrayal course. And I'll put a QR code here that you can scan that and it'll take you right to it where you can learn more about what we offer in that course. But it is a step-by-step process to help you walk through your triggers, walk through the grieving stage. It's also for the betrayer side where they're walking a different journey, but it's important that they do the healing also. And so it works through guilt and shame and how to support your spouse who's walking through triggers and how to have forgiveness for each other and what that looks like. And it's just so important to do the work to heal. And that's what I chose to do. And that is why it has led to where I am today, fully healed 4 years later, which is pretty rare. for couples.
Yeah, yeah, it is. What I heard you saying, and I hope that you were able to hear Adele saying, is you gave yourself grace, you gave yourself patience.
I did.
She was okay with feeling how she felt. She was okay with whatever emotions were there. You let them be there and you loved yourself through that process. And it was a really tough process. It wasn't an easy process, but it was a healing process because you allowed those emotions and feelings to be there. You may have heard this, but what you resist persists. What I resist in life, like I don't like the feeling that I feel, so I'm going to resist having that feeling, means I will maintain keeping that feeling for a long time.
Yeah.
What I resist persists.
Yeah, and it's actually stuffing it down.
Yeah.
It's keeping a lid on it, which it takes a lot of energy to do that. And eventually it will come out. It might be years down the road, but it will come out, and it will be so destructive to the relationship, to the healing that has happened.
Yeah.
When these emotions from the betrayal come out 10 years down the road.
So I have a question for you. In my coaching with men specifically, and they were the betrayers, they're looking at their spouse and they're thinking, hey, I've confessed to what I did.
Right.
I've already confessed everything out there, and I've told you everything, and why can't you get over it now? Why do these triggers keep coming up, and why do you keep having problems with me? And why do we keep having to rehash this over and over and over?
Right.
Why can't you just get over this? It's already been 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say to you, first of all, they can't. They can't just get over it. Their brain has actually just been through a trauma experience of a loss that is extremely great, and it hits to the heart. They can't just get over it. They can't just store it away in their mind and just not access it. It is something that their brain has to really process, and there's a lot of layers to process there in a marriage. And so it really requires a lot of patience. You know, you were the reason that I was going through that. And it's really so unfair for you to have a time limit on my healing and what's best for me.
Yep.
It's selfish of you, and it is destructive to my ability to see how I need to heal. It really allows for more blame to start to happen in the relationship. And it takes the focus off of just allowing me to heal rather than force me to heal.
Yeah. Yeah, right. What I hear you saying is I need to be personally responsible that it was my actions that created your pain.
Right.
As the betrayer, I betrayed you. I betrayed trust that you had in me. Otherwise, there wouldn't be betrayal. You trusted me.
Right.
And I betrayed that. And with that comes a certain amount of responsibility that I reap what I sow. And I think you can agree with this, that if I showed up to you, loving your heart, being there to support you, even though I did those things, I imagine that your healing would exponentially increase.
Yes.
The time frame would probably really shorten.
Yes.
And I think the reverse might be true, that if I have these demands and expectations on what your healing should and shouldn't be, I imagine that would put pressure on you that would prevent you from actually healing.
Yeah. Because it makes me feel like, oh no, am I not doing this right? I'm already not good enough.
Right.
And I just want to share for a minute about the war that you're fighting is with Satan. He doesn't want this marriage to work. He doesn't want me to be whole and complete. He doesn't want you to be whole and complete. And so this whole betrayal thing is meant to hit me square in the heart, where it hurts the most, where it leads back to something's wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I'm not loved. I'm insignificant. People abandon me. I'm rejected. Whatever it looks like, we all have our own flavors of what hits the hardest. And the enemy knows. And so when I'm working through triggers, it is a fight against the enemy and not against you.
Yeah.
It is, we can fight together against the enemy when we're walking this road together, and you're really supporting me. We're a team. Even though you're the one that hurt me, having you on my team to help me walk through those triggers is extremely valuable, When you
Yeah.
started doing that, my healing really took off.
Yeah, and I hope that your spouse is willing to do that too. And if they're not, you still deserve your own healing and you can still
Yes.
get that healing. You're not stopped because of their lack of integrity or their lack of responsibility. You know, it's sad that they would choose that, and it's their choice. It means nothing about you. Their actions meant nothing about you.
Yeah.
Your healing is so important. Your heart is so important. You are valuable.
Yes.
No matter what the enemy is trying to say to you, no matter what your thoughts are trying to say to you about you're not good enough, or, you know, if I would have been this, then he would have not done what he did, or she would have not done what she did. That's just a lie straight from the enemy. Put horns on that.
Yep.
It's not true. It's not true. But you're valuable and you deserve that healing.
If you want to hear more about this topic, you're going to want to check out this series that I'll put in a link up here, where I actually walk through all of the things I went through as a betrayed spouse and the route that I took for healing. And it's a free resource. It's on YouTube. And then if you are the betrayer, I encourage you to check out this playlist that we'll put here, because it is all the steps that you need to be walking in this journey for you and your own healing. And so I encourage you both, go check out those different playlists. They will really give you a lot of insight into what you're experiencing is normal, and a lot of little tips on how you can start to improve your relationship and kickstart your own healing, because you deserve it.
We really hope this has been helpful to how to walk through triggers. What are the triggers that you had, and how did you personally walk through them, and how you're normal for having them. And this is a great resource on how to walk through triggers and what they're like for each spouse to see.
Yeah. Maybe after hearing this conversation today, you have your own question on how do I walk through blank. Send us your questions. You can reach us on Instagram, on Facebook. You can leave a comment here under this video.
Yellow Pages?
If those still existed. Do they?
No.
Right. But yeah, we want to know how we can support you and where you are today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next week.
Bye.
So I felt like I was going crazy. And so the first thing I want you to know is what you're walking through is normal. I don't have my mic on. It's on my other shirt. Oh. We would love to hear what you want to hear on our channel. And so.
So.
We want to know what are the details of what. No. We want to know.
We do not want to know
No
details of hardly anything. Just more broad.
Yeah, please.
You got this.
Okay.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.